the Land Before Time ate the big freeze, Ducky was lying to her mother.
She's probably already waiting for me back at the nest.
Why does she look so freaking huge? Didn't you just have babies? Damn, Mr. Eugene. Can't be Eugene in the house. Like, constantly. So they're very nice, and they don't sell out Ducky, but then they're wondering, like, why would Ducky say that? Like...
Why would Ducky tell her mom we were meeting with Thick Nose? That's not true.
Obviously, bro, you freaking breaded bird. So Littlefoot deduces with his idiocracy that Ducky didn't really want her mom to know where she was really going. Turns out Ducky is gonna go find Spike. The herd of Spike tails are walking on, and Tippy and Spike decide they're gonna have some fun. However, Spike is missing home. As they slide, they make a tumble, topsy-turvy, rub-a-dub-dub pileup. The adults were not so pleased with this, but it's okay. Not like these 3-ton animals can break their bones falling on top of each other in the ice. Wow!
So, if Ducky's gone after Spike, why don't we just tell her mom?
Why don't y'all ever just tell the grown-ups shit when it happens to you? Why don't you ever just tell them when you're going on your adventures? You know, that would be the smartest thing to do. Although I don't know, because sometimes the grown-ups seem just as stupid as the kids. Littlefoot's excuse is, well, he might be wrong, and there's no point in getting the mom all worried. Don't you think she's gonna get worried when she goes back there and doesn't see Ducky in the first place? However, the kids run into Mr. Thicknose. The kids are like, oh, sorry about you being all sad and whatever. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go to the Mysterious Beyond and go get Ducky. And they say it loud enough so Mr. Thicknose can hear. So then he approaches them and he's like, did I just hear what I thought I heard? I can't let you guys go. And I'm coming with you.
Yeah, please. I'm not as young as I used to be.
He's not as young as anybody used to be. Don't be mean.
You have some nerve, Littlefoot. You have some nerve. You're the one who got him in trouble. First of all, you're the asshole who was disrespectful and mean to him in class and undermined him at every turn when it was not necessary and was disruptive to your fellow classmates. You're also a little ninny nutbag who sold him out. So we find out some things about Mr. Thicknose later on, and you know what? Tickle me fresh, because there's always an issue that I have with these movies, and it's that, you know, being the flyer of the group hardly ever uses his powers when highly convenient or when they're really needed. But then you have moments like these that prove that he can do it all the time, he just chooses not to.
Me fly up, look see if I spot Ducky up ahead.
I was just about to suggest that.
And even while he's having a problem keeping afloat up there because of the cold wind, which is very interesting if they add that. Why didn't they do it for the other movies?
What's the matter with Petrie? He's sure flying funny.
So Petrie's wings ice over and he falls. And here is another reason why I say bullshit whenever Petrie is falling. Because he knows how to fall as a flyer. He has enough experience to know how to fall so he doesn't actually fall.
I can't look.
Maybe you should, so we don't see, yet again, that your eyelids are not colored in, eh? See? He can glide. He doesn't have to fall and break his freaking neck trying to keep it together. Unfortunately, all of that activity causes an avalanche, which causes everyone to have to run. Not to mention, now that they have done this, cause the avalanche and whatnot, once again, another movie, the way that they took out of the Great Valley, they can't get back in there now because something's covering it up. Just noting also, Petrie's not locked out of there. Petrie can fly over there if he needs to. Anyway, we cut back to Ducky, who is following the tracks of Spike Tails. And this is how entitled Ducky is. Like, I get Spike was the initial person who started all of this, but the person who was carrying it on was Ducky. And instead of saying that she'll forgive Spike and she'll apologize, it's all about him being the one to apologize.
I will just say, that is all right, Spike. I forgive you. And he will come back with me.
Wow. Wow. How full of yourself you are. Because you did absolutely nothing wrong. It's not like you told him to go in an angry sort of way, made him feel like he wasn't wanted.
But what if he does not forgive me?
Exactly, right? You kind of deserve it. She kind of looks like her mom right here. It's one of those rare cases where she looks so much like her mom in the shot. As Ducky is calling out for Spike, she notices that there are other footprints there too. Sharp teeth footprints, because of course there always are sharp teeth footprints. Why would sharp teeth ever be anywhere far away enough so they wouldn't hear the kids? As she calls out, we see a sharp tooth approaching, and I gotta say, this is the best looking sharp tooth in the shot I have seen in the franchise. Right right there, that shot, it doesn't look like a Nintendo cartridge. You notice how the sharp teeth in the franchise always look like boxes or freaking old ass consoles or those TVs that show movies that look like they're wrapped in plastic. Back with Littlefoot and Sarah and Petrie, Mr. Thicknose starts to remark on all these different things that he's seeing, saying that he's never seen anything like it. And understandably, Littlefoot and Sarah are like, never? I mean, I thought you... Wait a minute, what? And that's when we find out that Mr. Thicknose had been lying, sort of. After a while, he tells them that he's never actually been outside of the Great Valley. All of this after he has a brush with death from a Sharptooth that ends up chasing them. When they work together and send a snowball careening into the Sharptooth, saving Mr. Thicknose, they also run into Ducky, who was running away from the Sharptooth. That's when Mr. Thicknose drops the beans.
The actual extent of my experiences outside the Great Valley is somewhat less than I've led you to believe.
He talks about all these different people who passed through the Great Valley and how they told stories of the outside worlds since he was really little. And he just had a knack for telling stories. And so he shared them with his friends. And over time, people just assumed that he was the one who experienced those things. And I guess he became a little bit big-headed and is like, well, I like the attention and everyone seems to think I know everything, so I just let it stick. He didn't set out to lie about it, but it just became that. And so when people say he knew everything and he's been everywhere, he just never denied it, which is sort of kind of lying because you're taking the credit for something that you didn't exactly do. Besides, the more famous he became, people weren't going to listen to him if he only merely ever heard stories. They want to know that someone has experienced this. And the truth is that Littlefoot and his friends have more experience surviving outside the Great Valley than Mr. Thicknose himself, who essentially has been, well, sheltered his whole life. The kids are actually pretty nice to him, and he sticks by them, and they stick by him, hoping the Sharptooth won't wake up anytime soon. Here come the inconsistencies.
No, dear. We haven't seen Ducky anywhere. I'm so worried. It's getting late.
Oh god, the amount of changing color crap that happens. Ducky's mother's horn. Grandpa's okay here, seemingly.
Would you like me to help look for her?
No.
Ducky's mother's horn, not colored in. Dino Dilly-Do.
You just rest and try to keep warm. I'm sure she's probably with Littlefoot and the others. Oh, I hope.
Now Grandpa has a blanket mask over his... Stop it! You know, they call this guy Mr. Thicknose, but let's be honest. It ain't just his nose that's thick. Holy tissue. You know those Charmin triple rolls? That's what he looks like as a dinosaur. If Tissue was a reptilian creature, this is what it would look like. Petrie's mom tries to find him, and so do all the others, recognizing that the kids are all gone. Mr. Thicknose and the kids find an icy thing. As it cracks, they're afraid they're gonna fall into the freezing cold water. Turns out it's not very deep and actually pretty warm. It's a warm pocket of water under the ice. And where there's water, there's food. Although this is a very small spot and there's not a lot of it, and for some reason they think this is enough to feed everybody in the Great Valley for a few months. Newsflash, it's not. Like, all the vegetation that we see are like these little tiny leaves on the sides. But they take a breather here as Mr. Thicknose tells his story in song.
There were more things I had to learn.
Yeah, singing is one of them. Not my favorite song, and him looking like Cubone, it just doesn't help. Just look at this measly place. It looks like a freaking sauna, and that's fine, but this definitely is not enough to feed all the dinosaurs in the Great Valley. This is barely enough to feed one dinosaur. And you may think a lot of this is under the water. No, it's not. This is what we're working with, this little spot right here. They try to change it up later on to make it look like it's something bigger, but regardless, this is all the vegetation we're looking at, that they claim is gonna be enough to feed everyone for a few months until the snowy, wintry season is over. Does this look like enough to feed the whole Great Valley to you? In the cold, everyone is lost. The leader of the Stegosaurus herd is like, I don't know where I'm going. All I can smell is ass and ice. Ice and ass. Icy ass. That's it. Spike can smell, though. He smells food very well. And he tries to lead them to where he's smelling. I hate when... I hate when their heads shake like that. Look at it. Yes, sir. Oh, it's great. La 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 la. Man, every freeze frame from here on out is just freaking gold, man. What in the world is happening with Sarah's legs? What happened to her legs? Why is there a line split right here that makes it look like her foot's getting cut off? Oh, good God. Oh, ew. Oh, okay. It's bending at that. Okay, so the line. Okay, so it's an illusion. It's just that the lines are all lined up and making it look like she got sliced in half. Finally, Mr. Thicknose is able to save them, sending the Sharptooth flying over the cliff, which doesn't mean anything because apparently they can fall from outer space and still be completely fine.
Any sign?
Put the stocking for your horn back on. God. They're able to get the adult's attention, but the pass is still blocked up. So they ask Sarah to use her voice, because apparently Sarah's the only one who can scream the loudest. A voice that her dad, of course, recognizes.
Okay.
Up there!
Honestly, I would have been worried if I was her dad. I would have been like, who is making my daughter make that noise? What are they doing to her? At least Littlefoot tries to redeem himself by sticking up for Mr. Thicknose.
He was! After all, he's the oldest and wisest of us all. Sorry.
That's okay. But you've still got some explaining to do, young lady.
I know, Daddy.
They tell them that they found the place. This is... Let's see the place again, guys, just so you get some context. Because we're supposed to be talking about all the dinosaurs of the Great Valley. Even if it's not all the dinosaurs of the Great Valley, it's the immediate circle of friends and their parents, right? Let me ask you something. Does this look like it's gonna be enough? Do you see food? What are they munching on? This little area is for all the dinosaurs to last for months until the snow all melts away and the food grows back. This place right here. And they even say that they have enough food for everyone. Why are you making it sound like a paradise? It's fucking boiled sausage water. There's nothing in there. There are no plants. And even when you zoom in and you do see the little bit of plants that are growing kind of sort of out the ground, one of that can fill up like a quarter of Sarah's dad's cheek. It's barely anything. It's warm, that's a plus, but there's barely enough food there, especially for these long-ass vacuum dinosaurs. Right now, all Ducky is thinking about is Spike, saying how she wouldn't complain anymore if he were just to come back, and then she sees him. That's what he smelled in the blizzard. Yeah, okay. Sharpteeth who have been, sorry, not the Sharpteeth, the Spiketails who have been migrating for all their lives, who have experience with smelling far, far away and traveling through conditions like that, all of a sudden they just stop working and this little pissant can do it. Okay. Ducky hugs him. And he doesn't even care that she's there. He's just like, bitch, you are an afterthought right now? Who are you? You look like a blade of grass, but the kind that I'm not supposed to eat, that I'm supposed to remember as decoration for my bathroom, even though it looks very tasty and is covered with those little marble things at the bottom. Please don't get close to me while I'm eating. I might make a mistake with how groggy I am. The rest of the herd cubs, and I want you to see again, those little green things you see on the sides, those are rocks. Then there are stones with some moss on it. See how deep the water is? Not very deep, barely up to their ankles. Not a lot of vegetation in them. Barely anything. Can you all see this? Can you see how small this is? Remember how much the Spiketails eat. They eat more than all those other dinosaurs. And now they're coming here. There's barely any food.
Is there enough to share?
Does it look like there's enough to share? I mean, why would you ask that? Why not just see for yourself? Does it look like we have enough to share? I hate when people put you on the spot like that. You know how many people have had to do that to me? I am starving. I don't have money. My mom makes me food or whatever. You have money. Your parents have money, and you see me eating. You see me about to finish my food. I am still in the middle of taking a bite of my food. And I've actually had this freaking big woman ask me this. Are you gonna finish that? Bitch, what does it look like? I'm eating it! There's barely enough there. I mean, unless you're gonna use the water as some kind of Robitussin to keep you guys in a catatonic state so you're not constantly hungry, there is no way that they would survive for as long as they're saying they have to wait for the Great Valley to be back to where it usually is.
I never thought I'd see them playing together again.
I never thought I would see you 3 times the size of a spike tail peering down at her like she's a child. What happened to the scaling for these 2 characters? What are you, God freaking Zilla, Mrs. Yushin? This was so jarring to me because of how obvious it was that it made me have to rewind it several times just to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing.
It's a wonderful sight.
Yeah, I guess that's one way you can put it. And I'm sorry. Are plants randomly spawning? It doesn't matter how much you try to make it look like there are plants there. It still is not ever going to be enough for all these dinosaurs. These dinosaurs would essentially all starve to freaking death. The movie ends on a very rough note because we think we're going to end like that. And then Spike slides after Tippy is playing with him and he falls into the water, which is weird because Spike Tails can't swim. But in every other movie, we see Spike swimming. Just saying. I like how Mrs. Yushin doesn't hesitate. That's her child. He floated into the deeper end. He probably could have gotten himself out of there, let's be honest. Maybe if you weren't so intent on eating, you would have weighed a little bit less. But his mom gets him out, and the way that they showcase her as the hero of the story, while all the other Spike Tails are just sitting there like, we don't know what to do. All we do is freaking eat. If it was her child, if it was Marcia's child, she would have gotten there. She would have used her tail like all the other grown-ups do and gotten him out. They make Spike Tails look like they're freaking stupid in this movie. What are you gasping at? You're a little bit late, bro. I love the suspense, though, that they do with this, because it's just, they do let it play on for quite some time, and the way they do it with no music is actually pretty good. I have not seen them really do that with Land Before Time movies, so that was expertly done. Even though we know that Spike is gonna be fine. We know he's gonna be fine, but that's not what we're waiting to see. It's not a matter of whether he's gonna be fine, it's how it looks when we know he's gonna be fine.
She got him! Yes! That is my mama. My mama did that. Yep.
I love how Ducky does that. That is so cute. And I like how Spike is conveniently much smaller when he needs to be. But they're trying to imply that because Ducky's mom is a swimmer, she's a perfect mother for him because she can save him if need be, when in reality, he can swim and the other Spike Tails can save him. All they would have had to do is put their freaking necks inside. They can swim. We've seen them swimming. So then Marcia's like, oh, we'll always be around. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, my face looks like, but that's your mama because she can swim and you can't.
No.
So Ducky hugs him and says she'll never get mad again. She's so happy, and then we hear them all laughing. Ah, we're all gonna starve before the winter's over.
The families would be happy here until the great circle began to warm the land once more, melting the white ground sparkles and allowing new life to spring up, turning the earth green again.
How long do y'all think that took? It's been like a few weeks now. Like they wouldn't have. Everyone should have looked like freaking Slender Man coming out of there. That would not have been enough to sustain them. It's so ridiculous. And then they all go back to the Great Valley from that little sauna the size of a gigantic dinosaur's foot. How ridiculous. Such a ridiculous movie. I get the heartwarming aspect of it, and I do like the Big Freeze aspect of it, but that whole part just made no freaking sense. They could have made it bigger. They could have had more plants, but it is what it is. That's the end of it. I know this was a shorter video. That's all there was to it. It's just ridiculous. And of course, Ducky will get mad at Spike again. And people are saying that the reason why Ducky was angry, and I did remark that Ducky has been angry before, is because she felt resentment. It wasn't really anger because she's felt anger before. This is the longest she's ever been mad at Spike. But even still, she would recognize that she's mad at him. She would recognize that, hey, I'm staying madder than usual. I'm mad, but I don't know what I'm mad at. The whole thing with her not knowing what the feeling is makes no freaking sense because she's experienced it. It doesn't matter if she's experienced it for a long time, you would still know what it is. When I realized I was still mad at something, I understood I was angry. I just didn't know why I was still angry. So that whole thing was a little bit ridiculous. Anyways, I like this. It was not the best, but there is one that comes up that I deem better, at least when it comes to sequels and stuff, and we'll be touching into that. This piece is called Wolf Showdown on the Tundra. Two male wolves meet on the open snowy field to have a showdown. This is the last time one of them intervenes and crosses the borders. However, it turns out that these two male wolves are actually brothers. The gray wolf is a younger brother of the darker one, and they meet here away from their respective packs to spar every now and then. I just thought it was cute. I didn't even know what I was going to end up drawing here, but they just popped out. I actually wanted to put a little animation on them, but I just didn't have the time. Been dealing with the dog in and out of the hospital the past few days, and it's just been very rough. But I think this is a very lighthearted escape. I drew this while she was getting her surgery done, and at the time her bladder was still literally filled to the brim with stones some the size of golf balls. Seeing that this was supposed to be something atrocious and it had a happy ending, it kind of draws a parallel to real life because we were so worried about her, and it turns out she's now here, resting and recovering and happy at home with us. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.